Okay, I've got a question. What do Evergreen Park, evil spirits, and occupational lies have in common?
Well, believe it or not, they somehow all are key plot points in the brand new rom-com out on Hallmark 2023's The Professional Bridesmaid. We've got a lot to talk about, Jennifer.
We do, Josh, and we'll unwrap it all in this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
If you like holiday movies from the classics to newbies, let's sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh. Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
So, I've been in my fair share of weddings. Jennifer, have you ever been called upon to be a so-called professional bridesmaid?
I can't say that I have. I've been in a few weddings in my day. I've also kind of helped assist unofficially with some photography, some setup, things of that nature. Have you ever been a professional groomsman?
No, but usually when I have been a groomsman, true to form, I'm the guy who's there on time, taking care of details ahead of time because I don't want to be an inconvenience to people. I mean, there you have it.
Here we are. We're both people pleasers, and that's probably why we get along in podcast world.
Precisely.
We've cracked the code.
Precisely.
Well, we will talk more about that in a minute, but first, do us a favor, help us grow our podcast by, if you can like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. That would just warm our hearts, and we would then come to your wedding and be a professional bridesmaid or groomsman if you're willing.
Hey, if you're willing. Yeah.
Just send us an invite. You can follow us on our social media, connect with us at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com. It's all there.
We'll look forward to connecting with you online where we are trying to build a fun little community. There you have
That's
it.
right. Now, to the plot summary from IMDb for this week's movie. When a professional bridesmaid books a high-profile wedding, she must keep her true identity a secret, not only from the wedding party, but also from the handsome reporter covering the event. Josh, what was your thought initially about this synopsis?
I liked it because, I'm always good for a good news trope, and I thought that this was going to be a fun little, quirky little element, and I always like to see how they play that kind of element off. So, let's go.
So we're talking about the professional bridesmaid starring Hunter King. Now, she was in A Royal Corgi Christmas last Christmas, which we covered.
Yes.
And then Chandler Massey, he was on Next Stop Christmas from 2 seasons ago. Did you catch that one, Josh?
I did not, but I also recognized him from Days of Our Lives. Not that I'm a big Days of Our Lives fan, but my mom was a big Days of Our Lives viewer, and so by proxy, I sort of, indirectly keep tabs on Days of Our Lives.
Like sands through the hourglass.
So are the days of our lives. I mean, my mom used to do that whole thing that we might remember from the 80s and 90s where they had that one VHS tape, and it would be the Days of Our Lives tape. And every day it would be recorded, and then we would rewind and record and do that about 100 times until the tape got to be so degraded, we just had to chuck the tape and start all over again,
Nice. So he must have been a youngin'. I mean, did he grow up on Days of Our Lives?
I don't know his whole filmography with Days of Our
Well,
Lives.
no, I don't
just know
expect
he's
you to.
more recent. I mean, this was the 80s and 90s when Marlena Evans was possessed by the devil and the whole 9 yards. It was that
That's what I was
era.
gonna say.
Yes.
My parents watched it back in the day, and I remember Marlena being possessed. I couldn't remember her name, and Allison Sweeney, was she on Days of Our Lives?
Oh, yes. For a very long time. She played Sammy Brady, who was originally a bad girl, then a good girl. And I'm talking a lot about Days of Our Lives tonight.
Well, like sands of the hourglass, let's get started about talking about
here
this
we go.
movie. So we open on stock B-roll footage of wedding prep and a frantic bridesmaid in a hot pink dress. She hops on a scooter with the wedding dress and saves the day by getting to the wedding chapel just in the nick of time. How everybody else is dressed up and the bride-to-be does not have her wedding dress on is, dare I say, bonkers.
Absolutely bonkers. And it's clear from go, they want you to know that this girl's not like every other bridesmaid. She's a cool bridesmaid because she's got glittery keds on. Okay.
So her name's Maggie, and she's a professional bridesmaid, much like the title. So her whole shtick is people hire her. and she will come and be in your wedding party. She has a whole bag of tricks of things to it. She's different than a wedding planner, they say, because she is there to cater and really support the bridal party, mainly the bride, and make her feel at peace about the stresses that come with wedding planning. So she carries veil weights around for a windy day photo shoot. She carries stress balls. She carries chalk to get out some kind of stain. She carries an EpiPen in case somebody ever needs one of those, and a stand-in wedding ring, because a groomsman's always going to lose a wedding ring.
Exactly. Do we think this is a legitimate career? Like, is this something people actually do?
Word on the street, aka Reddit, says yes, it is a thing. And it was this movie, I guess, according to them, I did not fact check it, was loosely based on a book about somebody who is a
Oh,
professional bridesmaid. I could see there being people who think they need this. I'm not saying there's a big,
some
a
self-important.
real need,
I mean,
but
not that we're judging. Not that we're
not
judging.
judging. And if you can make a living out of it, you do you, girl.
Go.
Ain't no shame in that game at
Go
all.
on.
Weddings are big money makers.
Yes.
So here we are. Maggie's trying to figure it out. So we get to a new scene. She's gabbing with her friend Nora, who is the wedding planner for a wedding. And Nora has a mayor in Ohio. He needs help. And maybe she wants to connect Maggie to the bride to be and the mayor, and that would be a good connection, and she could get in, because what Maggie really wants to do is build her business, and kind of she would be the king dingaling, and then she would have other professional bridesmaids below her, sort of like a pyramid shape.
Not a pyramid
Not like the
scheme.
Illuminati and not a pyramid scheme, but she's trying to build her business. So she said, that's great. The only thing is, discretion is vital being with a hotshot mayor. So how can you build your business really if you are always discreet and no one really knows that you're hired?
Exactly. I guess she's relying on Nora or other wedding planners to be the ones that are like, hey, if you want, there's this service that we can make available to you. I don't know.
I guess. So she goes and meets the mayor. Mayor and his assistant or somebody named Thomas really liked her. They think that's great. This will be great. You can help Mayor's daughter, Alexis. And they say, well, of course, you'll be moving into the mansion for the next 2 weeks until the wedding, because we can't risk having bad press. We can't risk anybody knowing who you are and how vital you will be to this wedding. So move into the mansion? Question mark.
It seems a little odd, but we got to find a way to have her in close proximity to all the main characters. So I guess it makes sense.
I guess. Now, how much do you fancy hiring a professional bridesmaid for 2 weeks would cost?
I mean, if you're living in a mansion as the mayor of Columbus, which, by the way, I'm pretty sure the mayor of Columbus doesn't live in a mansion. I mean, I'm sure he's well paid, but I
Mansion,
would,
the term mansion is relative, I suppose.
right? I guess maybe she's making what, $1,000, $1,500 a day. I don't know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
maybe 15,
That's
20
nothing to
grand for a
scoff at.
2 week thing. Yeah, exactly. Not
That's
bad.
nothing to scoff at all. Okay, so I'm going to put in my resignation letter at my current job. I've got an idea.
Coming soon.
I will be the podcast professional bridesmaid.
Ah, there you go.
But discretion is vital, so I couldn't talk about it. Okay, we digress. So she agrees to do it. She's tickled pink about it. We see she has an alias name, so now I'm going to get confused. Maggie is walking in the park and has a meet cute with a guy named Henry, who nearly runs her over on his bike,
Right?
which happens all too frequently in these movies. They bond over forest bathing.
Okay.
You ever heard of such a thing? I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it means.
I have
Is
never
that when
heard
you're
of
just
this.
one with nature?
I think so, very much so. Yeah.
He's a journalist, of course, and the mayor doesn't want any bad press, if you remember. So Henry's new boss says, hey, glad to have you on the team. You're going to cover the wedding and the wedding planning of this major event every day leading up to the wedding. And if you do a good job, then maybe you can do a story that has a little bit more of a bite to it. He's offended, but he agrees to do it because he wants to get the next beat. And the mayor may make Evergreen Park, where they met earlier, condos. And we have our first big bad developer trope of the movie. And
Mm,
Henry doesn't want that to happen, so he's going to weasel his way in with the mayor, I guess.
there you have it.
There you have it. Okay. So Maggie meets the bride, and of course, there's bridesmaid drama. Out of three bridesmaids, there's issues with all of them. One of them's just an influencer. One of them's been traveling and has kind of been absent. I think she's the maid of honor. And then the other one, I don't remember what her deal was, but they all suck. The moral of this story is if Alexis had the bride had a better judgment of character and better friend picking, none of this would be necessary and we wouldn't have a movie.
Good
But
point.
she's stuck with this gaggle of gals, and so Maggie's going to try to right the ship. And so, since it's important that discretion is vital, the Alexis told everybody that Maggie's name is really Maisy, which was a horse that she had when she was young, and it made her feel safe before her mother died. How would you feel about being named after a horse?
That was my question to you. I had to laugh because, of course, in the grand foyer of this mansion is this gigantic painting of a horse. And of course, there's this gold placard that's the size of a football field on the bottom of it that just reads Maisie. So it's like, if this is the cover story and we're trying to slip this past people so they don't know it, like, why have we not taken this big horse portrait down or something?
Right.
It
It
just
may
seems
have as well been neon and
right.
illuminated as she
She's
came
named
in.
after a horse. There you have it. I mean, congratulations.
Of course.
Horse, of course.
Horse is a horse, of course. Okay, so one of the bridesmaids is planning the bridal shower, but hasn't found a venue yet, and the shower is 4 days away.
Ugh. Yikes.
Now, in my wedding attendance and wedding party planning days, I've never been to a shower that is 4 days prior to the main event.
Mm-mm.
Never, ever.
Mm-mm.
I did go to like a brunch. Like I was in a wedding and we had like a bridal brunch the morning before because people were coming in town and all of that. So maybe that, but let's not call it a shower, folks.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not.
Mm.
It's not.
Anyways, okay. So Maisie, I'm going to refer to her as Maisie the rest of the time because she had two M names and I got confused, honestly. But we're going with Maisie. Maisie meets Henry at the mansion and finds out he's a journalist. The mayor's assistant, Thomas, is not happy they're talking until he thinks about it again and then was like, you know what? I'm going to ask Maisie to be my press liaison and kind of run interference so that Henry doesn't get too chatty with the mayor about this Evergreen Park situation.
Yeah, why that's the biggest issue facing the city of Columbus is beyond me.
Right.
It's not crime, it's not police funding, it's not fire funding, it's not infrastructure, it's will this park become condos?
Yeah, and we are in Nashville currently, and I'm not going to get political, but there's a lot more going on in
Oh.
Nashville right now than Evergreen Park if you watch the news.
Indeed.
So, but that's what Henry's, that's the hill he wants to die on. So he's really trying to weasel his way in. Maisie says, this is not part of my job, but Thomas convinces her she wants the referral. She wants to get this career off the ground so that she can keep him happy. She'll try to keep Henry away from the mayor and the issues there. Henry gets tasked with tagging along with Macy for all of these wedding standard stock scenes leading up to the wedding. So they go to the florist, and she tells him that the bouquet traditionally was used to ward off evil spirits back in the day. She had already previously told him that bridesmaid dresses were all made to look the same to confuse evil spirits.
I didn't know
I don't
any
know
of
if any of
that.
that's true. Yeah.
It all seemed
like
logical.
It seemed like a lot of evil spirit talk, though, to where I thought she was going to get busted for just making stuff up as she went along. Like everything is an evil spirit. Oh, the wedding cake was made to feed the evil spirits. So.
Right? And he buys it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, he very much doesn't check her facts or doesn't really double verify, which, journalism 101. But I mean, that's neither here nor there.
Well, he has goo-goo eyes for her.
Very
as
much
she
so.
does for
And
him.
vice versa. And boy, you should watch this alone just to see her talk philosophically about the nature of love and weddings and just virtually almost come to tears every time she does it. So it's clear that she is a lover of love. So
Yes. And they kind of talk about their past and how they were both burned before, and then he says something about oh wait, no, he's trying to talk about wedding cakes and prove that he knows something about weddings. He says fondant. No, he says fondue instead of fondant.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that funny?
Ha 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 ha.
I wrote yuck yuck yuck.
It was very yuck yuck yuck. Yeah.
Okay, so Alexis has told everybody that she's a distributor of wine, right? And so we keep getting these interludes throughout the movie of people kind of busting her story that she doesn't really know much about wine at all. But we do get, I don't know if you caught this, the bridesmaids are in the spa. We get extreme close up, and
Mm-hmm.
there is a bottle of wine called Spring Blossom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that's from?
Oh, that is the Hallmark Channel wines right there. And I thought this was some brilliant product placement because they're talking about the wine. Oh, this wine is so good. Oh, this wine is so fresh and so crisp and da 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 da. And then in the very next scene, a little ad pops up in the corner and it's like, do you want to try Hallmark Channel wine? Scan this QR code. And I was like, okay, I see you with the next level product placement. It was like perfectly set up. And they used those
I thought it was awesome.
Hallmark wines the entire time, but I just had to laugh. It's like, we're supposed to believe that this Massey girl is so good at her job, yet when Alexis comes up with this cover story that she's a wine person, she's like, oh, I don't know anything about wine. And then she doesn't immediately like try to learn something about wine so she doesn't get found out.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing that trips her up this entire movie.
Yeah, well, I did have a thought though. Should we do a separate video tasting and ranking the Hallmark wines?
Oh my word. I'm buying the sampler pack tonight. We're going to do it. Exclusive content coming soon.
I think our listeners deserve it. And honestly, I'm just curious.
I am way curious
tastes.
because I got to tell you, I drink some wine every now and again, but a wine that's called Spring Blossom, that sounds like a fruit wine. And
Sounds like it needs some ice cubes and
right.
Yeah, it might have a little it needs a little umbrella in it.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
It sounds like.
But stay tuned. We will let you know here first.
I should have told you that ahead of time, but I didn't.
I love the spontaneity. Let's do it. I'm in for it.
And also, Lifetime has their own wines, but it's a wine club.
Ugh.
And so I'm not sure. It looked expensive, so I think we might need to start with the Hallmark wine rating.
I think we do it. Let's go for it.
And if we did Great American Family, it would probably just be communion wine.
Or it'll be water that they turn into wine.
They turn into wine.
Candace Cameron Bure turns it into wine.
As only she can. Well, folks, that made us laugh. I hope it did you as well. Okay, so back to Henry and Massey. They're going to go pick up the wedding dress, and it results in her educating him about wedding dresses for reasons sort of unknown to me. I honestly started playing on my phone at this point in the movie, and they talk about their relationship past again. She was engaged to someone who wasn't all in, so she broke it off right before their wedding. And Henry was too busy with work as an investigative journalist to notice that his gal was dating someone else. Ooh. Henry asks Massey to get a drink, and she turns him down and makes a grape snafu. And since our boy Henry was an investigative journalist, he starts to figure out that Massey isn't maybe who she says she is. And I said, what is this, a Hallmark Movies and Mysteries movie or something? There's like dim lighting, and he's on the keyboard, like really trying to crack the case. He's
on Bobo Google, and he finds nothing. But then he realizes that she does share a name with Alexis's horse.
Because Alexis's horse shows up on the internet.
I know.
Guys, our virtual footprint is just everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
There are no secrets anymore.
It's going to happen. You're going to be found out. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so Massey was so in this other bridesmaid's business. She was so worried the whole time that the maid of honor was really flubbing up the bridal shower 4 days prior to the wedding, or 4 days from where we started. It doesn't matter. And so she got up all in the business. It was like, okay, I'm gonna. Bridesmaid A didn't change the wedding or the dress for the bridal shower on the website. Here, let me do this. Let me do that. Well, it turns out, um, Alexis, the bride, really wants Darlene, who was her late mom's friend, at the shower. Well, the wrong Darlene was invited. Whoopsie doo.
Hmm.
But Maisie had interfered so much, she got it all wrong. She sent half of the people to the wrong venue location. Because the maid of honor really had it all together, kind of, except the Darlene thing. Now, I didn't understand the Darlene of it all.
Yeah,
Because
Darlene was supposed to be very important, like a surrogate mom, I guess, to her. But it just sort of felt like it was out of left field, and it was an imperative that Darlene was going to be there. And it very much felt like this shoehorned plot point that had to happen because we needed something where she was going to mess up big time and put it all back together. I don't know.
yeah, and why couldn't Alexis just text her? Like you can invite if you're that close to her,
Yeah, girl, come. We're having a party.
come on over. I don't know.
Mhm.
So Maisie nearly loses her job until Alexis the bride stands up for her to the mayor. And I wrote the stakes in this movie could not possibly be lower.
Ugh.
Anyways, okay, so there was another thing. The bridesmaid messed up something else, but Maisie fixed it because now we're believing again that she's good at her job. And then the bridesmaid wants to make it up to Alexis, the maid of honor who messed up the Darlene of it all. So when they were kids, if they made each other mad, they would make up with a backyard tea party. So the maid of honor arranges a backyard tea party with the real Darlene, the OG Darlene in attendance.
Mm-hmm.
And I did think that was kind of a sweet moment.
I did, and it just reminded me the reason why Darlene couldn't just jaunt over from across town is because Darlene does not live in Columbus, and so we hear that Maisie had to cash in points and get her on a red eye to come into
Yeah.
town. That whole thing, yeah. This is probably when you were playing on your phone and missed that detail.
Sorry. No, now that you say it, I did hear that. I just
yeah.
didn't know why somebody else had to invite Darlene. Why
Mhm.
the bride, Alexis, couldn't have. Okay, so we're at the wedding rehearsal, and Henry and the mayor agree to talk about preserving Evergreen Park after the wedding. And the mayor is commending Maisie for how great of a professional bridesmaid she is, and Henry overhears. He starts to really put it together because all the other clues didn't really crack the case for him. That she's been lying to him the entire time. So he figures out her real name is Maggie, and he said, I don't have to be a reporter to know when I'm not being told the truth. Henry, you literally just pieced it together by eavesdropping.
Yeah.
So he gets mad at her, and then she asks, are you going to put this in the article? Because discretion is really important to my career. And then he gets real mad.
Yeah.
That's
Just
all. Yeah.
anger, just that.
I thought you were going to say something else.
I got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the point of the movie where it was like, okay, I guess that's how we're going to end this. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Henry says, I can't go to the wedding. I can't cover it. I can't do it. And Maggie's all sad. And the wedding planner says, hey, listen, you're the most authentic person I've ever met. If Henry can't see that, then that's his problem. You lied to him for an hour and 51 minutes. I don't blame Henry for being upset at all. That's
Right?
not authentic.
Right?
You got to own your stuff, Maggie.
Whatever.
Miss,
You are
whatever
mad
your
about
name
this
is.
one.
I don't even know what her name is. That's how she's not authentic at all. Okay, it's finally wedding time, wedding of the century for the mayor in Ohio's daughter. And the bridesmaids are just downright goofy. They're like staggering around. I thought they were drunk, but Henry's in the audience, and Maggie kind of like does a little winky poo at him or catches eyes. He turns away because he's just so mad still. Big mad. When the mayor sits down after he gives away Alexis, does he sit next to Darlene?
He sits next to Darlene, and I was like, oh, interesting. Okay.
But then it doesn't go anywhere else.
No,
I thought
it doesn't.
we'd see them dancing later or something.
We didn't have
unless
time
I
for
missed it.
We didn't have time for it.
We didn't have time for it. We had more than enough time for it. I'd be way more interested in that.
Choices.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the reception, Alexa steps in to try and mend the Henry Maggie relationship because she now knows Maggie is a true friend. Well, they have lived together for 2 weeks, stuck in a mansion, so I guess maybe they're friends now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They make up, they dance, they kiss, and then we get a flash forward, which we don't always get, and I do enjoy when we get it. Maggie, Miss, and Henry are back at Evergreen Park. It's saved. The mayor didn't tear it down and build condos. And he references that she's a big boss lady now and she didn't have to go cover a wedding because she has minions working for her, basically. And he covers the town hall beat and they're cute. The end. Time for our gold or coal segment where we each give 3 gifts. If there's more gold, we do. If it's more coal, we don't. And if it's just a tie, it's just meh. Josh, I'm coming to you first.
Yeah, so I actually thought these two characters individually did a pretty good job, these leads. She was believable in this sort of naive, kind of charting her own course, detail-oriented thing. He was believable in this reporter role, and I actually bought their chemistry. I kind of liked them as a couple. So, some gold there.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I thought their chemistry and relationship was precious. I think they really captured like that butterfly stage of when you're first getting to know someone. So everything is brand new information. It's all exciting. And I really liked both of these leads in their previous movies. Didn't necessarily like the movies, but I liked the leads. So I was happy to see them again on my screen. I was happy to see them together. And yeah, they get my gold.
My next piece of gold goes to Chandler in specific here, because a lot of times these guys in the movies don't really do a great job of sort of capturing the emotion, right? We don't really see
Mm-hmm.
them doing this emotional thing. And I thought he actually did a good job of really expressing anger well and expressing sadness well. Like there were multiple times like he teared up, which is pretty rare to see a guy do in one of these movies. And I actually appreciated it that he kind of went for it that way. So gold for him.
That's true. A lot of times it's just the female chasing the male lead, and he wasn't
Exactly.
like some big alpha dog. Like they were
Hmm.
kind of on the same field there. That's true. I gotta give some coal. I feel like I was baited and switched on this one. The preview was zany and funny because it was the part where she was rattling off all the stuff she does to be a professional bridesmaid, and that was about 0.2 seconds of the entire movie.
Hmm.
The rest of it, it kind of went on, and the tone was kind of sleepy and a bit of a bummer at times. I don't know. I just thought it was going to be a little more upbeat than it was.
Yeah, no, that
So
makes
I give
perfect
it coal.
sense. Yeah. My last gif is going to be coal. I thought this wine subplot and this being the main hang up, it just got tired and a little bit annoying. I just had a hard time seeing that as the thing that would trip her up. I mean, if she's supposed to be so good at her job, just go to Barnes and Noble and buy wine for dummies and do a night where you're
Yeah.
cramming if that's got to be what you talk about for the next 2 weeks straight. I mean, I had a hard time believing that is the thing for her. So, coal.
Hmm.
Hmm.
My last piece of coal is Darlene. That's all I wrote.
Period.
Darlene, period. I already talked about it, so I don't need to run it to the ground, but I didn't know really what was so special about their bond, and I don't know. I guess part of this, well, we'll talk about it in a minute. Never mind.
Yeah, well,
Darlene, period.
let's just talk about it now. So the final score
Okay.
is 3-3. And so we're just going to call it a
Meh.
meh. Yeah, meh. So what do you want to say?
Well, I think part of my hang up with this movie, because it was bugging me, I was wondering why I just wasn't that into it. I think I just didn't really care about the B characters, and there were so many B characters we were supposed to care about. We were
Hmm.
supposed to care about the mayor and Thomas and Alexis and her crappy fiance and like all the bridesmaids, and we didn't really know that much about any of them.
Hmm.
Other than, I mean, they tried a little bit with Alexis to develop her, but I just didn't find them very likable. I just thought they kind of seemed like hoity-toity rich people who are paying this girl to, fix the wedding. So maybe that was part of my hang up.
Well, that makes perfect sense because the thing I kept thinking about Alexis too is we kept getting these hints that maybe Alexis wasn't excited about this relationship or wasn't excited about this wedding. There were these moments where she would, swap this glance at Maisie and be like, "Can you rescue me from this?" Like when they were looking at the seating chart, it seemed like she didn't want the wedding to be that big and seemed like she had some concerns about the whole thing. It just, yeah, they didn't do enough with these extra people that were around her to kind of
Yeah, I
make it
kind
worth
of
your
thought
time.
they would either call off the wedding or end up just
Right.
eloping or
Yeah.
something. Like I thought it was kind of going there, and no, they went through with it.
Yeah.
Maisie's the best,
I
and
did
we'll live
I
happily ever
did
after.
like that they did have that final dance scene because they had done this dance rehearsal earlier in the movie, and we learned that apparently Henry's parents were ballroom dancers, and so he knows how to do the waltz and the whole 9 yards. And so the last scene we get is them waltzing to what basically amounts to a Bobo Nora Jones song. So I did think that that was a sweet moment.
True, that was sweet.
And that, dear friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Special thanks as always to our friend Nick Schwartz for our theme song, and of course to you for listening.
Hey, if you like our podcast, be sure to review it, subscribe, and of course tell a friend. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to give us a follow. You can find links to all of our socials on our website at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com. Hey, next time, we're having a hard
For real
time.
this time.
For real this time. We are having a hard time deciding which movie to discuss. And so we're going to do a poll. We're just going to put out a simple poll on our social channels, give everyone an opportunity to vote. And that will be the second movie that we review this month on our podcast and hopefully have some fun with along the way. Either way, whatever it winds up being, you know us. We're going to have plenty to discuss, Jennifer.
That's right. And until then, may your days be merry and bright. We'll see you next time.